Hello, everyone, and welcome to Basic with Barça weekly podcast to review and preview also the games that Barça are playing. And this week we are really upset because we're just a few hours after the 2-1 loss against Las Palmas in home, which is something that hasn't happened in many years that we've even stopped counting. And I'm not alone today. Oscar, how are you, my man?
Not great, mate. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm good in general, but I'm in a pretty horrific mood after that game. I can't lie. I'm smiling, but I'm doing a smiling thing where I'm angry, but I'm smiling at the same time. So a little bit psychotic, but Barca are making me a bit psychotic at this moment in time.
Absolutely. We're all crying inside, we're not going to lie. And we're not going to complain about our personal lives because everything is going well. But Barca is not going well. And we're going to jump straight into this because there is a lot to talk about. And we're going to start from the first goal. I think it was actually, no, we're going to talk about Rafinha first. This was the 47th minute when Rafinha hit the crossbar, if you saw it. And this is, I saw a stat that we've hit the woodwork 14 times this season, which is at least 4 times more than any team in the top 5 leagues. And this is so unlucky, man, because Rafinha, he did have a great game. I think he won the man of the match as well, rightly so, in my opinion. You're going to comment on that as well. But how unlucky is that for Rafinha when it's 0-0? And we always know that the first goal changes everything. How unlucky is that, do you think, for Rafinha to not score that? Do you think that he did well there?
I think he would have changed the game had that gone in at that moment. And I think we've seen with Barca throughout the season, really, moments decide games. And that one was really decisive. I think Rafinha, I think he was excellent today, to be honest. I think it was his best game, probably since Lamine Yamal got his initial injury, to be honest. I think not that Rafinha was had a drop-off in form or anything like that, but I think this was Rafinha back to his best, absolute best. I thought it was a sensational performance. I think he could have easily walked away with a couple of assists today. As much as we'll talk about how disappointing the performance was, if one or two players could finish, this would have been very different this game today. But yeah, he was by far Barca's best player today in every single sense. Off the ball, on the ball, making things happen, taking risks, and he looked like the player who was going to make something happen for Barca today, and he was the player, in terms of the equaliser. So unlucky of the strike off the bar just after half time. It's a really tough one for Rafinha to take. It was, I thought it was a really top performance from him. It was definitely positive for us today. Definitely positive. And I think if we were going to make it 2-2, or maybe even go and win the game from 2-1 down, it would have to have been a Rafinha moment. And I need to mention as well, the save from the free kick was excellent as well from Jasper Cillessen. Excellent save, that one. And yeah, there's not much more Rafinha can do in that game. I think he just needed something a little bit more than a 5 out of 10 from the players around him. Some really shocking individual performances around him, which didn't help things. He did his best, and ultimately we fall short.
Absolutely, man. I think Rafinha has become this player that we can trust, which is something that we wouldn't have said 1 year ago. Rafinha being the one that we're going to rely on when Lamine Yamal is injured, for example. Rafinha has become this player, and I think he's on 24 goal contributions this season in all competitions, which is absolutely crazy. But it didn't help because we obviously didn't win this time. But I'm going to take you to the 49th minute, the start of the second half, when we see Sandro Ramirez, the player who obviously used to play for Barca like 10 years ago. He did grow up in Las Palmas, and now he's back there. And this guy is on the right wing when our midfield, like we were talking about off stream, is nowhere to be seen. I'm seeing Lewandowski. I'm just looking at the picture right now. Lewandowski is the one chasing down the forward three of Las Palmas, which makes no sense. How do you see this tracking back? Do you think it was a lack of positioning, of motivation? How do you see this track back of our midfield?
It was a weird goal, really, because I think you've got to give Las Palmas some credit for how they played out the press. It was an excellent move from a Las Palmas point of view. And I think we're seeing a bit of a pattern in this, because I wouldn't mind doing actually a separate video on this at some point, to be honest, mate, in terms of how teams are sort of counteracting the high line now. You saw Sandro started very deep and wide in terms of his run, so he never actually, when the goal went in, I think a lot of the goals we conceded this season, you kind of thought, oh, that could be offside, that. And sometimes it gets given offside, sometimes it doesn't. The last couple of goals Barca conceded, there's not even been debatable. You kind of thought, no, they beat our high line there. They beat the offside trap. You saw Sandro, he started this run very deep. He was very withdrawn from the play initially. In fact, you didn't really see Sandro in the picture until that final pass is played across to him, and Inigo doesn't quite have the time to close him down. So, the fact he takes up such a wide initial position and a deep initial position leaves Inigo with a lot of work to do. Gerard Martin is nowhere to be seen. I'm not even sure what Gerard Martin's doing, actually, to be honest, in the whole move. Why he's so far out of position. It's not like it's a counter-attack either. It's a restart. We've been caught out of position that badly on the restart. As you said, Robert Lewandowski is totally out of position. I think Gavi doesn't really do great on that goal either. He's kind of caught a little bit cold as well. All in all, a really poor goal, but from a Las Palmas point of view, it's well taken. Good finish, nothing really Iñaki Peña can do about it. But we can't keep saying that about these goals. Conceding in terms of teams are finding a way to really get out our high line now. Listen, I'm not going to say it's been poor for us all season. It's worked brilliantly for much of the season.
Yeah.
But I think the most important thing about in football is how you react to things. And at the minute, we're not reacting very well to this. The problem's repeating itself of not really counteracting the problem. And I think, these aren't great teams, by the way, that are doing this to us either. Las Palmas, Sancho Ramirez is not a great striker at this level. I'm no disrespect to him. He played well today, but he's not a great striker at this level. This isn't Harry Kane scoring these goals or Erling Haaland scoring these goals. So it's definitely something for Barca to look at. I'm not completely in the mood of saying, we've got to drop this high line, sit in a low block and just totally defend for 90 minutes. I'm not saying that either, but I do think there's got to be adjustments to this team out of possession. And it's probably going to be too long for this video to discuss those kind of adjustments, but I do think we need to start approaching things slightly differently on restarts and things like that, because you can't concede a goal like that, really. At our level, what we're trying to achieve this season, you can't be conceding goals like that.
Absolutely. We've mentioned Inigo Martinez. I'm just rewatching the goal. And I don't know if he could have done better, but genuinely, he's just looking at Sandro Ramirez and he's thinking, this guy's not going to shoot. There's no way this guy's going to shoot. This is the edge of the box. The angle is really hard. I think you can't really blame Iñaki Peña, even if many people on Twitter, for example, have seen that, they're blaming him and saying it wouldn't have happened with another keeper. We all know Iñaki Peña is not Ter Stegen, and he's not Courtois, nowhere near them. But I don't think it's his fault. We can't just keep blaming him for everything that our team is doing badly. And you've mentioned Las Palmas. Before this game, they were 17th. Fair play to them. Actually, I thought they played great. But Las Palmas is not. Yeah, Las Palmas is not, like you said. They're not Real Madrid. They're not Bayern Munich. We put 8 past, against both Real Madrid and Bayern obviously together. I don't know. I think, as we said, Inigo Martinez could have done better there. Joel Martin, I don't know where he's gone. Maybe he forgot what we're doing there. But yeah, this goal was really, I guess it is unlucky in a way that the angle is really hard. You don't expect any striker, let alone, Las Palmas' striker. You don't expect them to score from there, but still, you do need to defend, right? You can't just say, no way, they're not going to score. So they did punish us there. So I'm going to take you to the equalizer in the 61st minute of Rafinha. And he was having a good game, like we said. Wasn't his best game, let's say, but he was really solid. He was really well. And then he does that turn. He makes that turn. And this is, I don't know what about you, but I saw that game with another friend, and we both just shoot, because this is another point that we want to talk about. The players are not shooting. They are in really good positions. For example, Pedri, and this is so Barca, right? You're in a good position to shoot, and you're not doing that. You pass another pass, you do another 1-2, but you don't shoot the ball. And this is what we all wanted Rafinha to do at this point. Just take the ball and shoot it. This is exactly what it did. And this is an outrageous goal. This is how I see it, this turn. And between the two players, and then the ball also having this spin away from the keeper. How do you see that goal?
Amazing goal. I think, to be honest, the second he got from right to left, on that angle, on his left foot from there, not a pretty clear shot on goal in terms of the way he manipulated the ball. Defender doesn't really have time to close it down. He's got that clear sighting in terms of that post, and the strike is just phenomenal. But I, to be honest, at that point, as soon as he got into that angle, into that space, I really did think he was going to score. I thought he was going to score the free kick as well, but from the angle he was at, just the general shape he had on it, I just thought, same again, he's going to score from there. But Rafinha, when he gets into those positions, really is unstoppable. In terms of his ball striking, his variety of finishing as well, by the way. In terms of his finish, he saw the hat-trick against Bayern Munich, all different types of finish. Obviously, the goal against Real Madrid. He's having his own goal of the season competition this season, Rafinha. He really is. And, it's only really the mean who would say can strike a ball the way Rafinha does in this team in terms of the variety of finishes. And that is a massive plus to have in this Barca team, because even as bad as Barca were, we still had a way out of this game. We finished a little bit better. Rafinha still gave us that way of getting back into it when we didn't really have any right to be back in the game at that point. And when you see goals like that go in, you kind of think, we're not a million miles away. And you have players who can produce moments like that. I think Rafinha, when he plays on the left-hand side, doesn't tend to find himself as often in those situations that he did at Leeds and he did in his early Barca career, because he's coming onto the ball from a different angle in that kind of sense. So it was quite refreshing to see Rafinha play 10 at times, because you're not going to see Rafinha play there very often when Olmo's back, or when Fermin Lopez is at full fitness, and we don't need to kind of rotate the team as much in those situations. So it was a very refreshing finish and performance from Rafinha. It was just a shame his teammates around him were appalling today. I'd actually use the words appalling. Way below the standards it should be at today, to be honest.
Absolutely, and I think this is the biggest change of Rafinha, and I keep mentioning it just because I can't even believe it. That, you know, Rafinha used to get the ball and I used to go, oh no man, like pass it please, just don't dribble, don't shoot, don't do anything, just pass the ball and let's continue our play. But Rafinha has become this player where he gets the ball and you say, wow, like I'm actually excited, something is going to happen. You know, Rafinha gets the ball, you say, okay, this is not going to stay the same, something is going to change, something's going to happen. Maybe we're not going to score every time, but something is, you know, we're going to get some chance. And yeah, Rafinha has become this player. And we're going to take you to the second goal of Las Palmas in the 67th minute. When I've just seen this image, I wanted to talk to you about this. Cubarsí is not covering anyone. Like Cubarsí, okay, so we've got the defensive line of 4, and then we've got Hector Ford, I forgot his name, the guy who's covering, who scored the second goal. The guy
Fabio Silva.
Yeah, Fabio Silva, that's it. And then Hector Ford is covering him for some reason because the left wing, Las Palmas' left wing is completely open, and Cubarsí is not doing anything there. And then just one long ball, you know, one touch, 2 touches, and then it's just, you know, again, this is a great shot. You don't expect them to score that, but still, Las Palmas had great chances in this match. And again, Iñaki Peña, I'm not blaming him, but the defensive line once again cost us. How do you see this outrageous goal?
Yeah, this one is it's different to the first goal. I think obviously again it comes with a consequence of us trying to defend quite high up the pitch, but I think it's a little bit different to the other goal because it's kind of like a bit more of a settled period of play, and Las Palmas just caught us in a bad moment really, because I think Cubarsí steps up a bit too early as well. Him and Inigo are not on the same line, which you haven't really seen happen at all this season, to be honest. Even when teams have beaten our offside trap, you've very often not seen Cubarsí and Inigo not be in sync. So I think Inigo holds a good line initially. Hector Ford has dropped way too deep from memory. He's dropped even deeper than Pau Cubarsí. Cubarsy's dropped sort of in between Inigo and Hector Ford, so the whole idea of the offside trap is gone. If you actually look at it as well, Fabio Silva isn't even looking at the ball initially. It's only as Hector Ford drops too deep, Pau Cubarsy's not on the right line. He then sort of sees the opportunity of, hang on a second, I've got a window of opportunity here. And the pass as well is well executed from the Las Palmas point of view. But yeah, Hector Fort's got to do better when the ball gets across. He's got to be a lot more intense in his defending. And this isn't the first time it's happened with Hector Fort either. I really do like Hector Fort, but defensively, there's got to be some question marks a little bit about Hector Fort. I'm thinking about the second goal against Celta Vigo, not being intense enough in his defending, you know, in terms of, you know, not really, you know, when Fabio Silva gets the ball, I want Hector Fort kind of just chopping away at Fabio Silva's ankles kind of thing, and just being, you know, aggressive in that moment. I just don't really think Hector Fort was aggressive enough. Again, obviously, don't think either goals on Iñaki Peña. I think it's more of a case of we want our goalkeeper to bail us out. And I think we see Courtois bail out Real Madrid in those situations, Alisson Becker bail out Liverpool in those situations, and we kind of want the same. And listen, that's fair enough. I think ultimately for this Barca project to hit its ceiling, we probably are going to need a better goalkeeper. But I don't think you can defend like we did on both goals and expect not to concede in those scenarios. So I think I can see where people are coming from in terms of the Peña criticism, but ultimately you can't just rely on your goalkeeper to bail you out of those situations either. Absolutely, and I think from this point we've got Lamine Yamal coming back, which is huge news, and this is another thing that I want to talk about. 11 wins with Lamine Yamal, 0 without him. So 11 out of 11 with Lamine, 0 out of 4 without Lamine, and he's come on. He wasn't great, you know. This is not the Lamine Yamal that we all wanted to see. Even though I did think he made a great difference. Like, it's not the same. You just pass the ball to him, and he's just going to create a chance, which is something that he's always going to do. But it still wasn't his greatest match. But even him, he couldn't make the difference. Even though he did have a nice shot on goal. That was the first touch shot. But even Lamine couldn't save us. And I think from this stage, it was just like, it's one of those, you know, we're 2-0 down, we're 2-1 down, sorry. And then we're just going to bring all our men up and let's just hope that someone is going to find the target, you know. And this is another thing that I wanted to mention. Everyone was in the middle, like everyone centered. Instead of going through the wings, you know, maybe using the width with either Koundé or with the left side even. But no, we're just going to be centered and we're just going to try and find the space there. But obviously that didn't work because Las Palmas is, like, everyone is like this heavy workload on the center. And this obviously didn't work. It happens so many times with Barca, with Barca, and I thought they could just
instead of, like I said when we started, instead of passing the ball all the time, just shoot. Pedri had a few chances where he could just, take a shot, and it doesn't always go in. But we saw the one goal that we had, Rafinha scored, and it's just one of those, like shoot, try. We're not gonna score if we're not gonna try. This is something that Real Madrid have always been doing really well. For example, with Valverde or with Toni Kroos, they just try, and they have such quality players that it works. And we also have some quality players. And Pedri maybe is not Valverde in terms of these shots, but still, the man can shoot. How do you see this?
I totally agree. I think just in general, we didn't attack with enough pace. We weren't playing the game at the tempo we want to play at. In terms of, Barca don't want to be a team where we're just allowing the opposition just to sit in. In terms of like two banks of four. That isn't what this Barca team wants to face up against. This Barca team wants to catch teams in transition, attack at speed, and we weren't able to do that at all today. We haven't been able to do that for weeks, to be honest. Sorry about that. We haven't been able to do that for weeks at all. And as soon as the team is able to settle, we are in big trouble, because you see, in terms of everything's gathered in the middle. You've put that out yourself, mate. And then we're reliant on Koundé or Gerard Martin to provide the width. They're not good at doing that, let's be honest. They're not good at doing that at all. And as soon as the play becomes restricted to that, we're half the threat. We really are half the threat. So it's a big issue for us, that one. It's something we need to solve. We just need to find a way, to generate these transitions, to get attacking teams at speed, at pace, and not allowing teams to settle behind the ball. That was a big issue for us today, and has been an issue for weeks upon weeks upon weeks.
Absolutely, and I think it's just like you said, right? Like Koundé, he's a great right back. I was going to say centre back because he's also centre back, but he's never going to be Dani Alves. And Joao Martin he's not as good as Koundé defensively, but I think he did play well against Brest. But today I wasn't impressed by him. I think he did some bad calls there, and he's not going to be Cancelo. Talking about attacking contributions. I think just like you said, we needed this width today. We didn't have that, even less so when we didn't have Lamine Yamal for the first 45 minutes. Right, he came on the second half, I believe. I think it's one of those, right? Like we did have some chances, and I also wanted to ask you about the two penalties that we could have received. The first one being Kubarasi that got stepped on. Is that a penalty for you?
I think it is. I think it probably is a penalty. Listen, I don't want to make this about the referees, but I think we're seeing the same thing again. The contentious decisions are going against Barca. I never thought either penalty was going to get given. I think probably both were a penalty. But it is what it is. We've got to be better than what we are doing, because we can't rely on referees to bail us out. I don't know about you, I just never felt like either was going to ever get overturned. And,
Me neither.
Some might say I'm being a little bit paranoid. I don't think I am, honestly. I really don't believe I am. I think Liga wants a title race. La Liga has got a title race because we've given them a title race now. I just think that's going to be a recurring theme between now and the end of the season, really.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those, like either of them. I mean, you don't have to whistle. You don't have to say that's a pen in any of them, but surely one of them, man. Like, how can it be? I thought actually the second one on Pau Victor was a lot more foul than the first one, even though I think on Kubarasi, if someone says that
his ankle is literally, you can literally see blood.
He's bleeding, right? Yeah. So I guess you can claim that there was a big mess there, but no, because this was the first foul, and only then did he fall, and all the other players began to fall. But the second one, like, what can you say? I saw that even I think it was Marca that was obviously like a lot more Madrid than Barca. They said it was a pen, and if they say it's got to be true. Like, this was a pen on Pau Victor.
If Pau Victor has a clear sight on it, and says it isn't taken out, he's just heading it into the back of the net. That's probably the most frustrating one, I'd say.
Yeah, and either way, like, obviously that's why it took us like quite a long time to talk about the referees, because it wasn't the referees' fault that we played so badly. But how many times in football do you not play well, and then in the end you have a few chances, you get a pen and you score and you win? And this was one of those. We could, maybe we wouldn't have won, but maybe a draw, or either way, we need to get the calls that we deserve. And this was, for me, the second one is definitely a pen. The first one, I think it's a pen, but I accept it if someone thinks it's too soft. But the second one, I think that there's no two ways about it. Like, this is definitely a pen that we should have received on Pau Victor. I don't know if Lewandowski would have scored, I don't know, but seeing his record, we would have probably scored that, even though I hate what he does with the penalties, with the little jump that he makes. Yeah, but I think this is so unlucky to lose this game in terms of it should have been a draw simply because of the 2 pens. I think, if anything, for example, the game against Celta, I thought we should have won because we played a lot better than Celta for the first 70 minutes, and then the second yellow of Marc Casado, and then things, went south. But this time, I think maybe we didn't deserve the win because we didn't play well, but at least the draw simply because of the pens that we should have received. Do you think we deserve the win or not so much this time?
Yeah, I think a draw would have been about right. I think when you look at the stats in the game as well, I think they've had 5 shots, we've had about 28, I think. Of course, don't tell the full story, but yeah, I don't think we played bad enough to say we outright deserve to lose the game. I don't think Las Palmas was great enough to say that either. They've been very clinical. Full credit to Las Palmas, but ultimately, I don't think there was much in the game really. That's probably the big frustration for me, that we didn't really stamp our authority. But to be honest with you, the only time we had stamped our authority was sort of a 10-minute spell before we scored. That was probably the only time where I felt we actually really started to sustain pressure. We looked a little bit more comfortable in the game, and yeah, we didn't do enough today, mate. And we've got to be thankful this is sort of happening now and not in the week where we've got Dortmund away, and let's go at home. It's kind of happening now. We're having this unsettled period now. But yeah, it was just a frustrating one, really. I think everything that could have gone wrong today did go wrong. In sense, I think when I saw Yamal coming out at half time, I didn't see how we wouldn't win the game at that point. And I do agree with you, Yamal didn't have a great game, but I did think he grew into it as it went on. I think his first couple of touches, I was like, oh wow, what's going on here, kind of thing. This is so un-Lamine-like in terms of how loose he was with the ball. But he grew into it. He started to cause the left back a few problems. So I'm not panicking too much, but it's the same players. It is the same players who sort of let Xavi down and now kind of starting to let Hansi Flick down in terms of just not doing enough to justify starts. I'm not so much talking about players who have been in the team throughout, but I'm looking at Ferran today. What an opportunity that was for Ferran Torres. He just hasn't done enough again. He's in his ideal position. Chance to save the game for Barca. Not just for Ram, but there's other players as well. But a real opportunity for certain players. The last couple of weeks, with Yamal injured, opportunities to play, haven't done enough. I mean, that Martin Ferran's left-hand side, as much as we can criticise Hansi Flick tactically today, he's seriously not going to achieve much when you've got that as your left-hand side as backups, really. With all due respect to those players, it's too big a drop-off. For what Barca want to be, if you compare it to Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, Liverpool, it's too big a drop-off that for me.
Absolutely, I agree with you. And I think a bit pessimistic, but that's what we have to say about Barça Las Palmas today. Not the greatest game, this 2-1 loss at home, and this is such a sad thing because it's the first loss since that Villarreal loss 5-3 when Xavi resigned that day. And so hopefully, the good thing is we only have 2 days to think about it. And then the third day, we've got Mallorca away, which is not going to be an easy game, by the way, because they are 5th. And they drew actually 1-1 against Real Madrid this season in this very stadium. So hopefully we're going to be able to recover in this one. And we'll be there again, hopefully happier this time. So thank you so much for being on this video. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you for watching.
Cheers, guys.
Thanks.